Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, your workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me your questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM them to me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. All right, so let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick. My physiotherapist suggested that I start doing one-arm dumbbell rows to help strengthen my lower back. I thought rows target your lats though. Is she wrong or am I wrong? Neither of you are wrong. So rows do target your lats, right? Whether you're doing a bent over barbell row, a T-bar row, wide grip cable row, V-bar cable row, or one-arm dumbbell row, they definitely target your lats. But when you're performing certain movements, like as I mentioned, the bent over barbell row, bent over T-bar rows, or bent over one-arm dumbbell rows, you're using your spinal erectors to help stabilize your lumbar region, which in turn will help strengthen your lower back. So your physiotherapist is actually right. One-arm dumbbell rows are a great exercise to add into any workout program if you are dealing with lower back issues. But with that said, you also want to make sure that you've warmed up sufficiently before you just get into one-arm rows. So what I usually, and I mentioned this last week on the No Filter Q&A, is I wouldn't recommend going into a bent over exercise right away when you're performing or when you're doing a back workout, for example. I like to warm my clients up with either a lat pull down or a seated cable row before I do anything bent over. So one-arm dumbbell rows are great to add to your routine, but don't put them in right away. Warm up first with some cable pull downs or some cable rows, just something to warm up your back, warm up your spinal erectors, and add that in. Another exercise that you can do to help really strengthen your lower back are hyperextensions. They work exceptionally well. And if you don't have access to a hyperextension bench, what I'd recommend you use then is just on the floor and do the old school Superman. You can actually watch both those videos on our online app. I have demonstrations on how to perform both those exercises, but those work the lower back just as well. So to answer that question one more time, it is, your physiotherapist is right. That will help, that exercise, one-arm dumbbell rows will definitely help strengthen your spinal erectors. But again, if you really want to hit your lower back more directly, I'd recommend throwing in some hyperextensions or some Supermen. I would ask her first, though, to make sure that she's on board with that. Maybe there's a reason she didn't recommend those particular exercises. But if she gives you the green light for those, I would add those in as well to help strengthen your lower back. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. What are your thoughts about using ankle weights while walking on an incline? I don't like them. I don't like ankle weights. I don't like wrist weights. Essentially, I don't like any weights that are attached to your joints. So whether it's your wrist, whether it's your elbow, whether it's your knees, whether it's your ankles, I don't like that at all. I always think resistance should be put on the muscle bellies and not the joints. So if you're talking about doing, let's say, walking on an incline, I'm assuming you're using a treadmill. Why are you walking on an incline? You're probably doing that because you want to burn fat, right? You want to burn calories. You're doing cardiovascular activity. So save your resistance training for resistance training. Save it for your workouts with your weights. If you want to make your quads and your glutes and your hamstrings more muscular, more toned, harder, save that for the weight room. Okay, walking lunges, leg extensions, hack squats, leg press, barbell squats, barbell lunges, ball wall squats, step up, side shuffles, hip thrusts. Save all that stuff. That's where you want to be doing those exercises to build the muscle. Don't walk on a treadmill and attach weights to your ankles and think that's going to help build muscle. If anything, in my opinion, what that's going to cause is it's going to cause issues down the road for not just your ankles, but also your shins. You risk getting shin splints. It can even give you some issues in your knees over time. So I would definitely not recommend adding ankle weights on anything, whether you're walking on an incline or walking on a flat. Again, save your resistance for the gym with the weights, okay? Cardio here, resistance here. Don't combine the two. You're asking for problems. And I know there's people out there that use ankle weights and they swear by them, or they use wrist weights and they're great. Fine. But if you want my opinion on it, I would not recommend doing it. I personally would never do it because I want to preserve my joints for as long as I can. I know a lot of people who are into their 40s and 50s and their joints are shot. They're done. Whether they have like tennis elbow, they have golfer's elbow, they have runner's knee, all kinds of issues. I've seen people with ankle issues and it causes them plantar fasciitis in their feet. So I don't want to have any issues with my joints. I keep all weights off my joints, keep weights on my muscles, keep my cardio separate from my resistance training. I don't combine the two, and just keep it like that. That's my opinion. When it comes to ankle weights, I wouldn't use them. Okay, next question. Nick, I usually like to work out in the early mornings on an empty stomach. Lately, I've been feeling a bit nauseous though during my workouts and was thinking I should start adding in something to eat before I go to the gym. Could you recommend something quick that I can make in the morning, as I'm usually stressed for time? Overnight oats work great. You don't have to do any prep in the morning. Prep them at night, put them in your fridge, wake up in the morning, open your fridge, eat them, done, go to the gym. Now, if you're someone who likes having your oatmeal warm in the morning, like I do, what I typically will do is I'll throw a pot of oatmeal or oats on the stove, and let it cooks for like 2.5 minutes. And I'm just cleaning up in the bathroom, getting ready to go to work, and I'll just down that. It takes me about like 3 minutes to down that, and that's about half a cup of oats. One thing I'd recommend if you're working, sounds like you're working out in the morning, for pre-workout nutrition in the morning, I would not recommend adding any fats into that meal. So if it's something like oatmeal, a cream of rice, I would just add like a scoop of protein powder into that. If you don't want to mix your protein powder with your oats, you can just have a protein powder in a glass of water and chug it down with your oatmeal. So a good complex carbohydrate and a lean protein work really well pre-workout. I do not recommend taking any fats pre-workout. Fats take a little longer for the body to digest. So if you're someone who has a sensitive stomach, it's probably not a good idea to be taking something that takes longer for your body to break down and digest while you're exercising, while your heart rate's up, while your blood pressure's up. That's not a good thing, because that's going to probably make you more nauseous. Not for everybody. I know some people can get away with having fats pre-workout, but in my experience working with the general population, most people, especially people who have sensitive stomachs and who do get nauseous pre-workout or during their workout, do not do well with incorporating fats pre-workout into their meals. So that's why I recommend having a good complex carbohydrate, such as oatmeal, cream of rice, Ezekiel bread, and then adding a good lean protein source to that, such as whey isolate or some egg whites. That works really well. And saving your fats for post-workout, okay? And that goes just the same if you're working out in the afternoon or early evening. You might want to just time those meals so that the meal right before your workout contains little to no fats. All right, next question. Nick, what is the average length of time a client stays with your company and has you as their coach? It varies, but the majority of my clients have been with me for about 18 years. I've had people leave and then come back. That's happened. I've had people leave and not come back. That's happened as well. But I would say the majority of my clientele base, which is probably about 85% of my clientele base, has been with me for the last 18 years. And I'm very fortunate for that, because it's much easier to maintain your roster of clients and constantly have to seek out new clients. So that's fantastic for me. And you know, in that period of time, I've relocated to 3 different gyms, and my clients have followed me from gym to gym. And then I have my online clients who worked with me since I started online training back in 2008, I believe. And a lot of them continue to work with me to this day. And some of them don't even live in Vancouver. Whether I'm doing their nutritional plan for them or their training program, I work with them on a weekly basis. So I would say that the majority of my clientele base have been with me for the past 18 years. And then I have a few people that have come and gone, and then they come back. And I've had people that have left, and then, you know, I'm still in contact with them. I've never had anyone leave on bad terms, though. I've you know, people leave for different reasons. But I think in my industry, most people hire a personal trainer thinking, okay, I'm just going to work with this person for maybe 3 to 6 months, and then I'll learn it myself, and then I'll go off on my own. And one of the things I do with my clients is they can definitely do that. It's my job to teach them how to work out and how to do the exercises. But the experience they have when they're working with myself or one of our trainers, it's unbeatable, because they work out at a private facility. Their workouts are planned for them. We know their bodies, we know their weights. So they really just have to come in, put themselves on autopilot and just do the workout. So they don't have to think and go, okay, where am I going next? Or is that piece of equipment in use? So a lot of people like that. And that's why they stay with us, or they stay with me for that reason for the past 18 years. So yeah, as I mentioned, I'm very fortunate. The majority of my clients have been with me for close to 2 decades, and hopefully they stay with me for another 2 decades. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. It's been so hot lately, and beer just tastes so damn good right now. I know you're not a beer drinker, so what do you recommend drinking during the summer when out with friends or on a patio or at the beach? Man, it is so hot. I'm sweating right now doing this Q&A. It's like friggin' hot. In Vancouver, I don't even know where it's at today, but this long weekend is going to be super hot. So I know what you mean. But no, I don't recommend beer. Beer is full of carbs. It's full of calories. And the thing with beer, you drink it like water, right? It's so easy to put back 6, 7, 10 beers in like a 3-hour period. I know guys that do that. I know a few women that do that as well. So when it comes to drinking alcoholic beverages, my go-to in the summer, or actually all year round, well, I do like my scotch, but if I'm out with friends or if I'm going to the beach, what I'll typically do is I'll load up a thermos. I'll put, a couple of ounces of gin in there. I like to use Hendrick's gin, and then I'll add in some soda water. 0 calories, 0 sugar. Gin contains very little sugar, like hardly any. And so very little calories. The only calories you're getting is from the gin. So that works great. You could do that with vodka as well. Vodka soda works great. You got to watch when you're doing hard liquor, you got to watch your mixes. Like, you don't want to be mixing, let's say, rum and Coke, for example. Like, that's full of sugar. So I like to stick with things like vodka and gin and mix that in with like club soda. I know I have some friends that like to mix it with like Diet 7-Up or Freshka. I know I don't really like pop, so I don't do that. But I'll just mix it with club soda, and that works perfect. So, and you know what? It's very refreshing, and you don't have to worry the next day because you can consume all those extra carbohydrates and all those calories. So I definitely recommend staying away from the beer, the cider, even the wines, guys. The wines are full of sugar. And the problem is, once you have one, it's easy to turn it to 2, 3, 4. And when you're having something like gin and soda, fill up, like I said, fill up maybe a thermos of it, have that with you and a friend or just for yourself, and just pace yourself throughout the night, and then you're done, and that's it. That's really my recommendation when it comes to drinking alcohol. Not that I recommend drinking alcohol on a daily basis, but if you're going to go out and you're going to do it responsibly. And you got to remember too, if you're trying to follow a fairly clean nutritional plan, you don't want to shit the bed by just blowing it all on beer and wine and ciders. It's not worth it. So even when you're drinking, drink responsibly, right? Incorporate the alcohol into your nutritional plan. Look how many guys that have beer bellies, right? So you don't want to get that. So yeah, that's my recommendation. Gin and soda, vodka soda. You can have like maybe a vodka and Diet 7 if you want, something like that. But just watch your mixes and stay away from, as I mentioned, the beers, the wines, the ciders, margaritas, all that stuff loaded with sugar. And yeah, you won't be paying for it for days to come afterwards. Okay, next question. Nick, why don't you recommend snacking to your clients? I've heard you mention this before, but is there a particular reason you don't use healthy snacks in your plan? I don't like snacking because I'm a huge advocate of portion control. And with snacking, there's no such thing as portion control. One of the things I'll have people say to me is, why don't you like this? It's healthy. I'm like, okay. Like, we'll use like those rice chips, for example. I'm not talking about rice cakes. I'm talking about those, ketchup rice chips or those chocolate rice chips that the Quaker makes them. And I'm using this as a healthy example, okay? And I use healthy with quotations because it's not healthy. For 7 or 8 chips, you're looking at maybe, 3 or 4 grams of sugar. Now, that's not so bad. But who the hell has 7 or 8 chips? They usually have 30 or 40 chips. So that 3 grams of sugar easily goes into 30 grams of sugar. That's why I don't like snacking. And again, you got to be careful with the so-called healthy snacks. In my opinion, there's not many healthy snacks out there. If it comes in a box or it comes in a bag and it stays on a shelf for a good 3 to 4 years without going bad, that's not healthy. Okay. So you got to be careful with that. That's not healthy. Now, if you're talking about fruit and, carrots and stuff like that, yeah, I can see having that. But at the same time, why not just incorporate that food into a meal? If you want to have a half a cup of blueberries, why not have that with some oatmeal? Or why not have that? You want to have like some avocado, slices of avocado. Why don't you put that into your chicken and rice? Or, you can make it more enjoyable. You can add those foods into a meal, and then your meal is portioned out and it's all accounted for. So I like meals more than snacks. When I do nutritional plans for people, some of my meals are larger than others, right? They're not, if I do a six meals a day, they're not all the same size. Maybe 2 or 3 of those meals are very small and the other 2 or 3 are actually a bit quite bigger, right? So I find using smaller or moderately smaller meals throughout the day works really well. And portion control is so important because the thing with snacking, it becomes mindless. especially if, again, if you're sitting there with friends and you're just, you're having like almonds, for example, and I've seen people throw back easily well over 50, 60 almonds. How much fat's in there? And yes, it's good fat, but when you're consuming that many almonds, for example, you're going to be going into a caloric surplus and it's going to be stored as body fat. So you have to be careful. I'm not saying don't snack, but you'll never see a snack on my nutritional plan because I don't believe in snacking. I don't think it's beneficial. And if you're trying to lose weight, I definitely wouldn't advise anyone to snack. I would advise you to just have 5 to 6 smaller meals portioned throughout the day. Okay. Hey, Nick, what do you think about using glutamine for weight loss? No clinical studies, none, prove that glutamine helps with weight loss. I've seen the reports on it, and the reports, it's been in the last probably 5 years. People have been talking about glutamine and weight loss. And when glutamine first came out, there was no mention of weight loss. What glutamine was designed to do was to help reduce muscle soreness. That's what it was designed to do. And now there's all these so-called studies coming out saying, oh, no, well, glutamine helps with weight loss and it helps with bloating. And here's the problem with that is that the people that they're doing these studies on are already working out. They're already following clean diets. So, of course, they're going to lose weight. It's the same thing when people say, oh, these fat burners work. Well, the reason why they work is because people who are on them are usually exercising regularly. They're usually cleaning up their diet, and that's why they're losing the weight. I think it's more placebo than anything that the fat burners are actually doing anything at all. So when it comes to glutamine, I've seen, like I've looked online and I've looked at these so-called studies that are done, and none of them are conclusive. None of them have been around long enough to give you any concrete evidence that there's an association between glutamine and fat loss. I'm not saying glutamine doesn't work. Glutamine works very well. We know glutamine works very well for muscle repair. We know that. It's been around for a long time, and we know that. But there's no long-term studies showing that it helps with fat loss. So until there's long-term studies that show that, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say there's no conclusive evidence, in my opinion, that shows that glutamine will help with fat loss. Do I recommend taking it? Not really, but if you're someone who suffers from muscle soreness for days after a workout, you might find some benefits in glutamine. But the same thing I'll say with glutamine that I usually tell people who are taking anything for like joint repair as well, is that you have to give it some time to kick in. So you can't just take it for, like, say, 3 or 4 days and think it's going to do something. You have to load it. It's like creatine. You have to load it. You have to have it in your system for a few weeks. So give it a shot for 5 to 6 weeks and see if that helps. Okay. But it's like anything. You can't just take it and think anything over the counter, I should say, and think it's going to work miracles overnight. It doesn't work like that. Okay. So if you're going to take glutamine for muscle soreness, I say go for it. But if you're going to take it for fat loss, you're wasting your time. All right. Next question. Hi, Nick. If you could only take one supplement for the rest of your life, what would you take? One supplement, it would have to be whey isolate protein powder. And the reason I say that is because it's so easy to get my protein in by using whey isolate. It's just a scoop of protein powder. I can add it into my oatmeal. I can add it into my cream of rice. I can have it as a shake. And it's just a very easy and quick way to get protein in. But if I had to pick a vitamin and mineral, I would say vitamin D, because I personally feel that vitamin D, our bodies don't create enough of it. So I'm a firm believer in using vitamin D year round. Even with all the sun outside right now, I still recommend using vitamin D to my clients. Depending on the individual, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 IU a day. So I would say supplement wise, it would be whey isolate. But if it was vitamin mineral, I would say vitamin D. Those would be the two that I personally would want to take. There's a few others, but I mean, if I could only take one supplement, it would be whey isolate. And if I could only take one vitamin mineral, it would be vitamin D. Okay, next question. Nick, what are your thoughts on Botox and fillers? Do you think they're safe, or are we really injecting toxins into our bodies? I don't think we're injecting toxins into our bodies. I mean, I've read up on Botox and fillers. I don't think we're really injecting toxins into our bodies. I do think, though, what I find funny about people who do Botox and fillers, not everyone, but a lot of people who do Botox and do these fillers, they take care of their face, they take care of all this stuff, they don't do anything for their body. So they got this skin that looks great, but then meanwhile they've got this big pot belly or these skinny little arms or this flabby ass. I'm like, well, what, you're putting so much work into your face. Why aren't you putting any work into your body? To me, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, you could go to the gym and get a gym membership for $40. Well, here in Vancouver, no, maybe $150 a month. But that to me is like, you're taking care of one thing, but you're not taking care of the other thing. And then the same can be said for me. I don't do Botox or fillers. Obviously, you can tell, I've got wrinkles in my forehead. It doesn't really bother me. I'm not against people doing it, but I just think it's funny that people put so much work into their face, yet they don't really take care of their body. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So before I would go to Botox, I'd be looking at, okay, how can I make sure I'm keeping my body in good shape and my health in good shape? That to me would be my number one priority. But I don't think that you're necessarily injecting toxins into your body with Botox and fillers. I mean, I haven't heard anyone dying from Botox injections. But again, Botox, even though it's been around for a long time, there's more and more coming out. So as it stands right now, I'm not for or against it. I'm not currently doing it, obviously, but I'm not against it. I have clients that do it. But again, those people who are doing it are also taking care of their bodies. So I just think it's kind of funny when I see people doing all these Botox and these fillers, and then I see them walking around and they don't take any care of their body, and they're eating a shitty diet, they're drinking, and I'm like, great, your face looks good, but what's going on downstairs of your body? Doesn't make sense to me. Okay, last question. Nick, do you have any tips to help get my husband motivated to start exercising and eating better? I train 4 times a week and have been working with you on my diet since January, but no matter what I do, I can't seem to push him into getting a routine himself. He put on a lot of weight during COVID, and I'm concerned for his health. It's not your job to motivate him. He needs to get self-motivated himself. And if he's not someone who's easily self-motivated, then he should be working with a trainer or a coach who can help him, right? That's not your job as his wife to motivate him. Now, I know who you are, so you're working with me on your diet plan, and you do train a lot. So, I mean, if your habits are not, they're not transferring on to him, you can't push someone to do anything. Even if I have certain clients who don't show up for their workouts, I just send them an email or a text message. I'm sorry we missed you today. I'll see you next week, or I'll see you later on this week. I'm not going to, give them shit for missing a workout. They're adults. You're not dealing with kids here. So you can only do so much, right? Now, you're obviously making it easier for him, because if you're following a clean diet and you're exercising regularly, you would think that would rub off on somebody. But with some people, it doesn't. They're like, no, whatever, I don't want to do it. And it's funny because I actually have a lot of husbands and wives, and the wives take really good care of their health, good care of their bodies. And meanwhile, their husbands don't do anything about their bodies, and they're getting like these spare tires in their belly, and it doesn't look good, right? And then never mind about their exterior, their interior is not good either. Like, you have to really focus on your internal health too. So as far as providing tips and motivation, I mean, my biggest tip would be to hire a trainer. It doesn't have to be me. It could be anyone that's reputable, knowledgeable, and experienced. Because a trainer will help keep you motivated, especially if you're booking sessions with somebody, because that's going to help hold you accountable. But if you're whether you're someone's husband's wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, it's not your job to motivate them. I mean, you can try and help and push them, but at the end of the day, they have to be the person that puts in the work themselves. So, I mean, I know lots of people who don't go to the gym or who don't exercise, they don't take care of their bodies, and I don't say anything to them because it's not my place. It's not my place. They have to ask for the help. So my biggest tip would be to recommend, if your husband doesn't want to train with you or doesn't want to follow the same diet that you're following, is that he works with his own trainer, his own coach that can help him, someone that he feels comfortable with. Shop around and go for a few consultations and find someone that he gels with. That's my recommendation. But again, it's not your job to constantly try to motivate someone to go to the gym. That's my job. And I do it with my clients, but at the same time, I know when to back off. And if someone doesn't show up for a workout, what can I do? But I'm always there for their workouts because it's my job. It's my job to motivate them and inspire them and make sure that they're on track with their diet and their training. But again, if they slip, I'll always still be there, but I'm not going to punish them and say, well, shame on you. No, they're adults. They know the reality that if they're not putting in the work, they're not going to get the results. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week. This Q&A will be going up on Friday evening. Remember, if you do have any questions related to your diet, training, supplementation, please feel free to contact me anytime at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me at @fitcosgrove_. Guys, thank you very much. If you're here in BC, have a great long weekend. Stay safe, careful, no heavy drinking. And if you are going to drink, gin and soda, vodka soda, and I'll see you all next week.